As we reported here last week, lawmakers and Governor Kasich want to bring two more weapons into the fight against the state's deadly opioid epidemic. Republican state lawmakers introduced a plan to put limits on how many painkillers doctors can prescribe in a 3-month period. Federal guidelines suggest 24, but the state guidelines right now allow for 144. And Governor John Kasich announced a rule change that would take effect this summer to limit doctors to prescribing painkillers for just 7 days, 5 days for minors. There's a man who may be getting credit for some of those ideas. Scott Weidel is a business owner from the Dayton area. He lost his son Daniel the day after Christmas 2015. The 30-year-old father of two died of an opioid overdose. I spoke to Scott Weidel just after the governor's announcement about the prescription limits.
Just the fact that he's put exposure to this issue of the overprescribing issue is a significant issue in the heroin epidemic, and that's been a lacking effort to date, and I'm grateful that he's done that. I still think there's some more positive things to do ahead of that, but it's a start.
And you may have played a role in some of this. I mean, certainly you played a role in Daniel's law and the proposal of the bill, but also in the governor's action as well.
I would like to hope so. I really can't say that with certainty, but we did have a conversation 3 weeks ago on the Capitol steps. So maybe that put a little bit more urgency into him. I'm not sure, but I hope so. I would be proud if I had that influence.
And what are you hoping for? You still want the law, but this rule takes effect immediately. Are you hoping for?
What I think I heard was this is still a voluntary situation, voluntary rule. So, I still think that there needs to be a little bit more legislative effort into this that will put a more specific threshold on doctors to where the pharmacy board and the medical board has the ability to enforce overprescribing if it does happen. Right now, I don't think that there is a threshold or I call it a speed limit, and with no speed limit, how can you get a speeding ticket? So there needs to be a firm speed limit on this issue.
There's been some concern raised by doctors saying, hey, they're trying to serve patients as well as making sure that patients stay healthy. Is this potentially putting doctors in a difficult position because they're trying to serve their patients?
Opioids doesn't heal anything. So as far as the patient's healthiness, I'm not sure that this drug does anything for that. The use of opioid medications has skyrocketed 900% in the past 15 years, and with that line, so has heroin addiction. And medical opioids is synthetic heroin, and there's a direct correlation between our heroin epidemic that it was partially caused by the opioid epidemic. So back in the 90s, the average prescription was 7 pills in a bottle, and today the average prescription is 67 pills in a bottle. So we need to get that tone back down to something like the 80s and 90s, and we'll be in a lot better shape on aggravating the disease of addiction, which is what opioids does aggravate.
The state is on track for a much worse year for opioid overdoses. The latest figures released in August are from 2015, when 3,050 Ohioans died. That's 8 a day, 1 death every 3 hours. It's expected 2016's numbers will be much worse. And for this year, 2017, record numbers of drug overdoses are being reported all over the state so far. For instance, Cuyahoga County is estimating 850 deaths likely in that county alone by the end of the year.